So the Israeli ambassador to the UK was set to speak at Cambridge University in the UK. And she was met with a very friendly crowd, as you can see. So she was set to speak at Cambridge Union, right? And this is the crowd she was met with outside. I don't know if you can hear everything that's going on in the background, but people are shouting free, free Palestine and giving her a couple of rude gestures, right? A couple of middle fingers. Not the best way to treat a diplomat, but, you know, we are talking about Israel after all. Here's some other videos. Maybe you can see what's happening. I'll mute it for you because it's quite loud. I don't know what you guys are watching on, whether it's headphones or otherwise, but it's quite loud. So, they don't like her. They don't like her. And I must say, it is good seeing such a healthy, vibrant community of student protesters, especially for this issue. You guys have to remember, it's still taboo, you know, in a lot of places. It's still very faux pas to protest on behalf of Palestinians, right? I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's changing slowly. So respect to everyone who's coming out and protesting on behalf of Palestinians. Let me read you a little bit. I want to read you a letter, okay, from Cambridge. These are students from Cambridge University who wrote this about the Israeli ambassador coming and speaking at Cambridge Union. Let's take a look at who she is, this ambassador, okay? So this is an open letter. And the title says, Zippy Hotovely, not welcome. That's the name of the ambassador, right? I won't attempt to pronounce it correctly as I'm not sure how, but anyway, that's her name. So they say, as members of the Cambridge University and other institutions and societies, we write to express our dismay at the decision of the Cambridge Union to host the Israeli ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotovely. We condemn this invitation and affirm that this far-right representative of an apartheid regime is not welcome at our university and in our city. So, Hotovely is a proud supporter of Israeli settler colonialism and an open advocate of a greater Israel, claiming that, quote, all the territory that is west of the Jordan River can only be held by one nation, the Jewish people, unquote. While Deputy Foreign Minister, Hotovely asserted that the entire West Bank belongs to Israelis alone. Quote, this land is ours. All of it is ours. We did not come here to apologize for that. As Settlements Minister in 2020, she, like, that's a thing, right? There's a Settlements Minister. Just let that sink in for a moment. Like, the whole basis of the Israelis is what? Is that these are mostly European Jews, right? Coming to Palestine and taking land from Palestinians, from Syrians, from Lebanese. And like, they're so shameless about it, they have a settlements minister. Because keep in mind, a lot of these settlements that are built by the Israelis are illegal, right? It's not just like it's not an opinion that they're illegal. It's a fact under international law. Many of them are illegal, especially in the West Bank, right? But she doesn't care. They don't care. And just a few months ago, Naftali Bennett, who's the new Israeli prime minister or crime minister, is talking about a plan to double the illegal settlements in the Syrian Golan Heights. So always remember that Israel is not just stealing land from Palestinians, it's also stealing them from Syria, right? The Golan Heights and Sheba farms from the Lebanese. Although without question, it's the Palestinians who certainly have it the worst. So this is who the Israeli ambassador to the UK is. She's the former settlements minister. I mean, this is it's shameful, isn't it? And here's another thing about her. So she's against interracial relationships, right? So in 2011, she extolled the necessity of education to, quote, prevent Jewish women from forging life connections with non-Jews, calling for a, quote, struggle against assimilation, abhorring mixed families, and claiming that the fact that girls reach a state of intermarriage testifies to the fact that the education system was absent. I mean, I don't even know what to say, honestly. And then in the Knesset, so the Knesset is the Israelis' so-called parliament, right? She invited an organization called Lahava, whose quote, marches in East Jerusalem and chants of death to Arabs have attracted infamy. So you remember last year you're seeing all these settlers. It's not new, but it was at least apparent on social media. You had a lot of these Israeli settlers, going through Jerusalem, smashing up shops that belong to Palestinians and chanting death to Arabs. This is who we're talking about here, right? So this is the group that we're talking about. And I just want to, I'm not going to read the whole letter to you, but I just want to highlight this point here, which is absolutely disgusting. She basically denied the Nakba. So I'm going to translate the word Nakba again. It's an Arabic word, but it means, catastrophe or disaster. And what does it refer to specifically? It refers to the period of 1947, 1948, when, the state of Israel was declared. And so they love to paint that as a beautiful thing. But what it means, the Nakba, it's ethnic cleansing. You had all of these Arabs that were, specifically Palestinian Arabs, who were driven from their homes, right? I mean, the figures vary. If you look at the official UN figures from now, they say there are, I think, around 2 million Palestinian refugees just in Jordan alone. But at that time, it's around 800,000, right? And so you have Palestinians who go on living generation after generation as refugees. But just to focus on what the term Nakba means, it's about the expulsion of Palestinians from their homes, the mass expulsion. And so she denies that. This woman, the Israeli ambassador to the UK, she denies that this is a thing. She calls it an Arab lie. Well, I'm sorry, I have news for you. Many non-Arabs agree that this, it's not even a question of agreeing. Know that this is a fact. It's a historical fact. This is the thing with Palestinians, is that, many of them are still alive. From 1948, you still have people who were kicked out of their homes. They have the keys to their homes. So how is that a lie? I find this very, very troubling because could you imagine if someone was engaged in Holocaust denial, which is extremely wrong? You shouldn't do that. But could you imagine the fury that she would kick up? And then she just casually denies the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Like, how is that not just as bad? How is genocide denial of ethnic cleansing, how is that okay in any capacity? And this is the kind of person who's invited to speak at Cambridge. Could you imagine if the Cambridge Union invited a Holocaust denier? Like, this is the same kind of standard that they're stooping to here. It's disgusting, honestly. It's disgusting. And so she's under both governments, under Netanyahu and Naftali Bennett, right? And I want to read to you just over here. This is from some outlets who were talking about the students protesting last night. So this is from socialistworker.co.uk, although I've seen the same thing in a bunch of other outlets. They said that yesterday when the students were protesting, right, people inside complained they couldn't hear Hotovely over the noise from outside. So the protest is effective. I read in another outlet that she had to cut her speech short because of the protesters, because it was so noisy inside that she basically couldn't give her speech properly. And here, this is from, I think, from Varsity, right? It's another outlet. I just picked random ones just to show you what's happening, right? It's no preference here or whatever. And so this Cambridge Palestine Solidarity Society, I think they're the ones who were organizing the protest, or at least one of the organizations that were organizing the protest, and they're on Twitter as well. You have a lot of groups in the UK that are involved in affirmative action, direct action in support of Palestinians, right? So you have another group, I think it's simply called Palestine Action, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're involved in shutting down Elbit, which is this arms manufacturer for Israel based in the UK. And I think they shut one plant down already. So I wanted to read you this line from this Varsity article. They said that commenting on the protest, the Israeli ambassador said she regretted how the slogan, quote, "From the river to the sea," implied the disappearance of Israel, but acknowledged the necessity of protest and a democracy. Oh, well, how generous of you. Are you going to tell us next who's allowed to be in British politics? Jeremy Corbyn? I mean, what is that? Like, she recognizes the need for protest and a democracy. Well, good thing it's not your fucking country, is it? Because you don't let Palestinians protest under Israeli occupation. How generous of you. How benevolent of you. I mean, this idea also that from the river to the sea means the disappearance of Israel. It's the other way around. You got it twisted. Israel means the disappearance of Palestinians. Palestinians have been there forever. You go and pick any Palestinian you like, and you ask them, where's your grandfather from? Where's your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather from? They're going to tell you Palestine. Go ask an Israeli where their grandfather or their grandmother or whoever their family, their ancestors are from. They're going to tell you maybe Poland, the United States, Ukraine, Australia. Who the fuck knows? But certainly not Palestine, right? At best, it's 3-4 generations. At best. And that doesn't, even if you were talking about someone from next door, like, does that mean if you're someone from Syria that you can kick a Palestinian out of their house? Of course not. So it's not about where they come from. It's the principle that you have colonizers coming in and pushing Palestinians out and then saying that, oh, well, if Palestinians give them their homes back, then we're gonna disappear. That's bullshit. You have two nationalities. Many Israelis have dual citizenship, right? They have a place to go to. They can travel. Do you think Palestinians can travel? Palestinians do not. The people in Gaza cannot even get out of Gaza, first of all. But even those who are in the West Bank, for example, they can't go anywhere. They don't have a passport. They don't have a state. They don't have full membership at the United Nations. So, you got people with dual citizenships, two fucking citizenships, pretending to be victims while they shit on Palestinians and deny them a state. They kill them on a daily basis. They block them from having their own, from having self-determination, from having freedom. It's so disgusting how they pretend to be the victims. They're not the victims. Not at all. And it's just, they take everything and flip it upside down, right? I want to be clear again. Israel is built at the expense of Palestinians. Israel is built at the expense of Syrians and Lebanese. Not the other way around. Not the other way around. Not at all. And, I mean, again, she's funny, right? She's really funny. She acknowledges the necessity of protest in a democracy. How generous of you, madam. How generous of you, Madam Ambassador. How quaint. Thank you so much. We're so glad that you recognize, you give us the right to protest in our own country. You're so nice. Thank you. So I want to show you some more videos over here from the protest. So you can hear people chanting "Free, free Palestine." And I want to highlight something else for you. She spoke at LSE. So LSE is a university. It's a top university in London. It's the London School of Economics. I vaguely remember being on the campus once. It's in central London, and she spoke there in November, I think it was. And she was also met with a very friendly crowd back then. So it's just 4 months ago, right? Let me show you the kind of reception that she got when she was speaking at LSE. So that's her with the bouquet, right? That's her. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's her. And she's being rushed into the car with the bodyguards, and they're whisking her away as if she was like under imminent threat, and you've got like a whole line of policemen there. It's so dramatic, And I think it really speaks to the cowardice of Israelis. They want to act all tough, and then a bunch of students who are just yelling, "Shame on you," and "Free Palestine." They're like whisking her away as if she's in like some fucking James Bond movie. It's so pathetic, right? And why do they do this? Because they want to play the victim, right? Again, these anti-Semitic students. Shut the fuck up, man. You are anti-Semitic. You're the one killing Palestinians, not the other way around. So they got they got half the Met protecting her, and she pretends like she's a victim. And of course, before this protest in Cambridge, in the Cambridge Union, you had the students being told not to repeat these disgraceful scenes at LSE. What disgraceful scenes? Please explain to me what happened besides people protesting. I'm not saying that it's nice on a personal level. I imagine it doesn't feel good being her. But Jesus Christ, look at her behavior. Look at what she represents. Look at what she represents. The former settlement minister. She's just like, she's heading an entire program of ethnic cleansing, and students should shut the fuck up and not express shame that this person is coming and speaking at their university. I mean, you know, they're not even saying anything particularly controversial. It's only the British politicians and the media who make it controversial. Because if you look at this is so hilarious. You know, if you look at the response from the British establishment, from the British political establishment, what do the politicians do? They start covering for the Israelis. So the British pretend that, you know, we, the British, we say that the United Kingdom is a democracy, right? And you have the right to protest. And so students come to the university, to their own university, to other universities, and they protest the presence of this woman who represents an apartheid, genocidal regime that's involved in ethnic cleansing. And then what does the British establishment do? What do the British politicians do who claim they're running a democracy? They say this kind of stuff, right? They say that the students should be investigated by the police for protesting. Well, that's not much of a democracy then, is it? You know, this is Priti Patel, again, the Home Secretary, right? I'm just reading you the headline from The Guardian. So Priti Patel backs a police investigation of LSE protest against the Israeli ambassador. What? Investigating what? Did they murder someone? What happened? They're just protesting. They're just protesting. Explain to me what warrants a police investigation. Under what charge? This is the kind of absurdity that happens. And it's not just her, of course. It's droves. It's droves, right? I think, what is it in the Conservative Party? I think around 80% of Tory MPs are in the parliamentary group that's called Conservative Friends of Israel. You know, the UK itself, the United Kingdom, is half the fucking reason that Israel exists in the first place, right? The Balfour Declaration, Sykes-Picot, the mandate in Palestine, all of it, right? I'm not going to go through the whole history again. We've done it a million times on the channel. But it's just so disgusting. Like, nothing's changed, you know? It's just the same old British establishment backing these genocidal maniacs. And I'll just end on that note by saying, you know, good job to the protesters, because these guys, again, it's still considered a bit taboo to defend Palestinians, which is shameful. You know, Israel should be taboo. Israel's behavior, apartheid and ethnic cleansing should be taboo. Not defending Palestinians' human rights and their right to self-determination and their anti-colonial movement, their movement of national liberation. That you should be proud to do that. That should be encouraged, especially in places that call themselves democracies, right? And talk about human rights. So, you know, well done. Well done. I'm happy to see this, because it's time that public opinion shifts away from protecting Israel, and it should shift towards protecting Palestinians, helping Palestinians, right? Especially in a country like the UK, which is responsible for creating Israel and still continues to support it and back it and give it cover and protect it from accountability. So well done to the protesters. Good job, guys, and keep it up.